Hello and welcome to this podcast around how different industries are using AI to enhance their businesses. Now we know that AI is a huge buzzword at the moment, but how are different industries using it? We know that it's fantastic for leverage, so you get the technology to do the work and then you can get your people doing much higher value tasks. But let's actually delve into some of the different industries and how they're using AI, because overall most industries can improve the way that they do planning. Forecasting as well is fantastic because of the way that AI can basically take lots and lots of data and then create really good forecasting models. So you can just dump all the sales trends and everything, and it used to take a long time and you'd have to manually create a big algorithm, whereas now you can really get AI helping you and your business. But it just makes things slicker and it's all around just simplifying everything. Now there's certain things that AI isn't particularly good at, and AI can hallucinate a lot, so you can't always trust the information. But when you teach and train AI, it can do certain things that certain industries will need very, very well, and that's what we're really going to dive into. Right, so AI in manufacturing. So mainly we're talking about manufacturing. Forget about their office functions and how they can use marketing and account functions and things. This is much more around, think around standard manufacturing. They've got their factory floor. What can they use when it comes to AI? So certainly cobots around the factory floors, but it's around getting them working with humans. So for a long time we've had machinery that can work on its own, whereas the difference with AI is that it will just be able to do more and potentially from a better human element. So for example, when it comes to detecting flaws, it's really good at being able to do that. You can train it well on the flaws, and also it will do it 24 hours a day, and you don't need to worry about if it's on holiday or goes off sick. So there's the AI, the way that it can manufacture and produce things, because it's so fast with the data that it's interpreting. So, and also you can start looking at changing how you produce and manufacture things. So you really want to be able to manufacture from a just-in-time perspective, because you don't want lots of stock floating around. But also now with the use of AI, you can offer your customers so many more designs and different uniqueness, and then the AI can really create and manufacture much faster but in real time, and also minimizing the failures. And it's not a case of having to manually set up a machine each time just to produce something slightly different. AI in supply chain and logistics. Now this is really about all of that data that is constantly going on. So imagine that you've got 100 vans all out on the road doing different shipments. Now if without using AI, you'd have to manually be looking at all of this data that's coming in. If let's imagine that all the vans are all tracked, and you've then got a separate tool which is whenever let's say delivery takes place, you're having signatures. So with AI it can really look at combining all of that in real time. So it brings in what the driver's doing, where the van's located, what shipments and parcels have been signed for, and it can really synchronize and do everything together. But it's pulling lots and lots of data all in very, very fast, as opposed to before when it was maybe more of a manual process, and if a driver had an issue they would then need to phone up, and there was lots of manual processes. Whereas with this, also you can use this information and improve the customer, because they will have a lot more information at their fingertips, and you can also with online portals and things. So it's been really, really good for certainly logistics and the supply chain as a whole, because AI can link up if you've got different businesses within that chain. So AI in finance and banking. Now a big element of finance and banking is around the fraud side, which is, the thing is with fraud, it's very difficult to detect. And if you're manually looking, then you'll need to manually be looking and spot something. Whereas with AI, you can very much just understand big data, and then it can look and it will be like, what's going on there? Why is this different? What patterns are changing and that are unusual? And then once it's trained to do that, it can then flag those unusual patterns. You then pass them over to the human element that can then look more into the fraud. But it's the way it's able to do this at such pace. Imagine a bank that's got 1,000 transactions happening per minute. That is just so much information for the human eye to try and look at. Or if it's a manual program, by the time that it's actually detected it, the fraud's happened. Whereas with AI, it can just be much, much faster. So AI in legal businesses, again, the way that it's able to analyse contracts and do a lot more research en masse, but also it's multi-bilingual contracts as well, where it's really good. So an example would be if you go to if you're English speaking and you're trying to buy a property in Spain, there might be difficulties with getting translations done. It's then understanding Spanish law, whereas using AI you can just much faster, much more accuracy. You still may need to use both a Spanish solicitor and an English one, but using AI can just really speed up the process, and it just makes it much easier to understand. So AI in real estate. So this is all around property across the world, but it's much more to do with valuations is where it's really coming into play, because it's able to look at any property within a certain, so for example it might be a 10-mile radius, certain properties that are similar, land values, whether it's square footage of the actual property or of the land itself, and it's just it can process a lot more information much faster. It can also then use that information to predict property values of whether it's property value today or in the future, because it can just really look at all of that information much faster. So certainly anyone, whether it's estate agents, we call them in the UK realtors in America, it's just using that AI to get much more information and understanding the property and property management as well. So AI in healthcare, this is really, really powerful because it's around understanding what issues people have and then getting diagnoses really, really fast. It's also around looking at treatment plans, because you can streamline these the documentation for people, but also what AI is really powerful at doing is if someone goes in with certain issues and maybe they've got multiple issues happening, it's really fast at being able to, whether you need x-rays and CT scans, but also then cross-referencing against what other patients have and then being able to come up with procedures to help that patient much faster. As opposed to if you're not using AI, you're very much reliant on the experience of that doctor. So it's from a singular perspective, whereas with AI, it can just look at a much broader range. So you can then use keywords or key symptoms, and then it can really start to broaden out what other people have had and what successes they've had. And also then looking at drugs across the world as to which ones are being developed and which ones may be best for that patient. So it's just really improving the time that it takes to get that person back on track. Now, AI in education is really interesting. You can do exams and things like that, but what it's also really good for is the standard stuff of booking in new students, enrolling them, understanding if they're in catchment zones, and you know what classes they can and can't be in, and then understanding, whereas a manual process of, you know, what grade should that person get, why should they get that grade, and also The problem is with individual teachers is that some may mark in different ways. So you could go to school A and a student might get, for argument's sake, 50%, whereas in school B they may score 60%. It's exactly the same test and answers, but it's the bias from the teacher. The other thing as well that education is, at the moment it takes quite a long time for the process of the curriculum and creating different courses. So obviously if a course is running a year, then it needs to be designed the year before that. So what can then happen is by the time the person gets to the end of the course, there can be a few years delay, and often in so many industries it's moving much faster. What AI will allow the person to do is actually create the courses and the content in real time. So for example, if it's a legal course and there's new cases that are happening that are setting precedents, and there's new legal whether it's laws that are coming out, then it can be in much more real time. So as far as education, it will just improve and minimize that lag that there currently is when it comes to thinking of a course, creating the course, and then actually sitting and running the course. So there is quite a big delay, and it will really shrink that down. They're the main industries that are really using AI in slightly different ways, but all businesses can start to really improve the way that they're running. It's all around looking at what processes does your current business do that you can potentially get AI to do that will do it faster, it will do it more accurately, and then it's not just about saving and losing staff. It's much more around getting your staff to do things that AI can't do, and that's what it's all about. It's all around leverage and just trying to get as much bang for your buck. And there's a lot of tasks that businesses will be doing that AI can do it just as well, if not better. And that's what it's all around. So to fully harness the potential of AI and integrate it seamlessly into your business's daily workflows, it's so important that you're continually evaluating. Now, if you're working with an IT support company that isn't going to be helping you evaluate your complete processes of your business, then Syn-Star can help. And where we can really help to begin with is we are offering you a 100% free IT audit. So we can look at what IT you're using from a hardware perspective and from a software perspective. How's the business using it, and how can we really help you maximize the potential of AI in your business? So please click the link for your free IT audit.